another episode of Beers and Bells. And want to thank you guys so much for watching. We're super excited to introduce another guest, somebody that we actually met online. And this is our first time meeting him face to face or screen to screen, if you will. So very excited. Want to remind you about the 1,000 subscriber challenge. Basically, when our channel reaches 1,000 subs, we're going to select 5 winners to win the following. It's going to be 5 free personal training sessions, a 3-month customized program, accessible via smartphone app on there as well, and then a Strength with Purpose shirt, which Mr. Sean Bryan is currently rocking at the moment. So the Lightning Bolt kettlebell. So so hit that sub button and let's rock and roll. So without further ado, Jeremiah, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's just go ahead and start off with kind of like who you are, what your background is, and we can just go from there.
I'm just a regular guy, man, that has a bunch of ideas. I just like creating stuff. And I jumped on it a while back and created something called Shellz. That's not the one that we met about, but
right.
Shellz, I created a bullet-resistant groin protection device for police and military and high-level athletes.
Yeah.
And then, had some decent success with that. And when I say decent, I still work a day job, so it's not high-level success, still trying to get there.
Not yet.
Not yet. And then, my mind started, the hamster wheel started spinning again with this new idea. Worked out ever since I was a little kid. My levers, when I deadlift, are a way where I constantly gash my shins up, no matter which way I deadlift. I know some people don't, some people are blessed with anatomically where they call the moment arm or whatever, where they can pull straight up without dragging, but I wasn't able to. And I just kind of got out of favor of doing deadlifts all the time because I trained jujitsu. I got staph infection from having an open wound and then rolling back in the day.
Oh, sweat.
That kind of got left a bad taste in my mouth. Had to do a round of antibiotics, wrecked my gut. Just messed everything up for a while. So it was kind of in my head, but for a little bit, and then I started messing with it recently, about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Started doing some sketches and stuff, and so I came up with the product Dead Right, and so really simple. I created a device that snaps over the bar that allows you to pull the bar as close to you as physically possible, and just simply deadlift like you normally would, but this time pulling it back against you. So two purposes, it keeps, from skinning up your shins, and that could be very crucial in our current environment or a gym environment,
Yes.
Other people's DNA or, but just, perfecting one's form and then allowing you to just do it more often where, I've been hitting it about 3 times a week now, doing deadlifts, So yeah, that's kind of me, 1,000-foot view. So.
No, that's great. I think we've all been at that point, obviously, before you came up with this, which is a great idea, by the way, where like you think high socks are going to be the difference maker, and sometimes, but like it's not really. So I think this is obviously the great, the next best step, of course.
I get a lot of just like anything with Shellz, you get a lot of haters, you get a lot of pushback. I started putting the ads out there, and you get all the people that have time to comment all day long.
Yeah,
and don't even work out. Those are the ones that don't even pick up a barbell.
A lot of them, I think, are like the meathead mentality. Like, oh, you fucking pussy. I can cuss on here, right? Okay.
Oh, you're fine, mate.
You got, or just wear socks or just wear shin guards or all that. It's like, okay, I get it. I've worn those before. I've bled through socks.
Yep.
I've deadlifted heavy with shin guards, and the shin guards, actually, I snag it like 3 or 4 times on the way up.
I was just about to ask you that. Yep.
Yeah, it's like it's creating more friction. So I'm not only lifting the weight, I'm lifting the friction as well.
Decreases efficiency, yeah.
for sure. And so it's like, the problem is when you create something that has never been, there's a learning curve with everybody, and I got to teach them that this is, how to use this, and trust me, you want to use it. And until they actually use it, and they're like, oh, yeah, that's
Exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And I gotta be honest with you, Jeremiah. When I don't know if it was on an Instagram ad or something, or maybe I was just mindlessly scrolling the feed like everybody else does on IG. But the first time I saw you was a video. I saw a video of the dead right, and I think it was a video of you actually using it, and I saw it, and I read the little description, and I literally I read the catch, and I saw the video, and I thought, what a fucking good idea. I just really popped in my head. I was like, this is amazing, because I've scraped the crap out of my shins over the years, man. Like totally done it. And you know how it is, like you said, like don't be a don't be a wuss about it, like toughen up or whatever. But I saw the video and I was fascinated immediately, which is obviously why we reached out to you about the show. I had one of my clients who I mention her pretty much every week on this show, Marissa. She's like by far one of my strongest lifters. She lost 40 pounds, but then since then has been PRing in the deadlift. So her force production has skyrocketed big time. She's insanely strong. So this week, for instance, we did 2 sets of 2 at 245, and we got a couple weeks out. Then we're going to test and everything. But so she used the roller, loved it immediately, because we were actually in an issue where she was having trouble getting the bar close enough, and her hips were shooting up a little bit on the deadlift. As you know, that's a deficiency, right? Makes it harder, more of a increased risk of like tweaking your back, and it's just, you're not going to pick up as much weight, right? So she loved it. The first week, she did first set 135. She said, "Oh, this is awesome. I love this thing." And she was super into it. And then the funny thing was, we used it for probably about 6 weeks now, like consistently every week. Now, last week I forgot it. So actually we lifted without it. But I will tell you something. So she wears like leggings while she works out, like with socks. Yeah. She noticed benefits from using it without it, because she said she naturally kept the bar closer. And I took a video of her deadlift, and her hips didn't shoot up like they normally had prior. So she said it definitely, true to the description. It helped her learn better technique. So that was really exciting. So especially when pulling heavy, that's always a big test.
Yeah. How have you used it yourself?
I have, just a little bit. I'm actually on a very specialized like kettlebell training program, so I'm not really allowed to do anything else right now. But I did play around with it a little bit, and it's freaking smooth, man. It's like you can really crank the lats, pull that thing really close, and it feels good, man. It feels really good.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like I actually feel like I pull my lats, and actually I'm pulling it and pressing kind of the bar back onto my legs.
Yes. Exactly.
And it allows me to do that. It's neat. It's just different, man. It's hard to explain to people. It's really frustrating, the naysayers that haven't tried it yet. It's like, dude, just be open-minded, try it out. Yeah, you can buy socks for $30.
Yeah.
But this isn't the socks. Come on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. For me, like I never really understood the notion that certain things that like make lifting safer are like, to your point, like earlier, what you said, like, oh, it makes you a pussy or whatever. Like it's people say, oh, you don't wear workout gloves, like beat up your hands. Like, yeah, there's a benefit to that for sure. But it's like, where something like this, where it literally makes it so you can, increase your power output and all that kind of stuff, like pull more weight, do it safer, not bleed on the bar for the next person. Like, I don't understand why in any way that would get like negative feedback, because like, I'll tell you, like there are plenty of times where I would go to grab a barbell for my client, and granted, I don't know who used it before, but like I would see blood on the bar, and I'm like, all right, I don't know if these are from hands or from shins, or I see skin on the bar too, and like, or maybe they didn't notice, or maybe they did, they just didn't care. Where like it'd be cool to at some point in a regular gym setting see like this product on all the bars, just I don't see why this has to be lumped into all those other things where it's like, oh, if you use that you're taking the easy way out. Like if you, like when you use a lifting belt, or which again protects your spine. So it's like, I don't understand why certain things are like taboo, so to speak.
Yeah.
So when I filed the patent for the Deadright device, the first thing that I developed was the molds to make the model that we have right now. But in the patents, like I saw forward and I thought how cool it would be to have an actual bars where it's built into the bar.
Yeah.
So that's all laid out in the patent wording too. So the bar would have the rollers. It's a deadlift, traditional deadlift bar and a sumo style deadlift bar. I had a non-disclosure agreement drawn up, and I contacted a couple of the big bar manufacturers, and
hell yeah,
they didn't really take me serious. They didn't really take me seriously.
It's unfortunate.
They will soon.
They will.
I remember this lesson from Shellz. No one took me seriously then, and now everybody does. So it's just a matter of time. I just got to keep grinding and don't quit. That's the name of the game with everything.
Oh, absolutely, man.
All aspects of life, really. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've obviously, Jeremiah, I mean, obviously you've been a lifter for your whole life. So I'm sure you've heard of like Chris Duffin and all that cool stuff he's made with Kabuki. Like I actually listened to his book recently. He talked about how when he first came out with like his Transformer bar and his like Duffalo bar, and especially, but he said initially like the old school crowd was like, oh, this is dumb. We shouldn't do this. It's old school. You got to do the old school barbell. And then suddenly a lot of these lifters with like shoulder issues, they liked squatting with the Duffalo bar because it was a lot easier on the shoulders. Transformer bar, same thing. It gave you that option to change your positioning of your hands. So I think you're right, man. It's going to catch on.
I haven't contacted him though.
I think he would be a good one.
I see him. I saw him, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, he's probably just like the other guys, I mean, he's monster lifts. I assumed, he would be, oh no, that's a pussy, whatever, blah, blah. But just hearing you say that, what he said, that's an interesting tidbit. Yeah. Maybe I need to listen to that and then approach him.
Yeah. Well, he comes from very humble beginnings, and he's very upfront about that in his book as well. Like, I mean, he spent a lot of time homeless. And he had experienced food insecurity when he was younger. And there were like some of his family members were engaging in like criminal activity. So he's very blunt about that. And it's really, it's a really cool story. Like, I don't even know if you could call it a comeback story, because he started with nothing and he built Kabuki strength, which is obviously a very well, like in the lifting circle, at least, it's obviously very well known. So I think with he's got a pretty humble mindset. He's strong as hell. Obviously, he's like one of the strongest humans on the planet right now, probably with the crazy stuff he can do. But I would reach out to him if I knew him. I'd text him for you. But we're not tight like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna get that book. Do they have an audio version?
He does. Yeah, it's on Audible. I think it's called The Eagle and the Dragon. So
okay, that's cool. I'm always looking for a new book to be read to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that stuff.
I'd rather read it, but I don't have the time lately. So
I'm with you.
No, I understand. So Jeremiah, just to go back, so I thank you so much for sending us the Deadright, by the way. That was obviously very generous of you. And I'm going to make sure that we find people that are going to buy your product. So we are consider us your unpaid ambassadors.
Right.
But what really intrigued me, obviously, was the sticker that you sent for the Shellz. It had a picture of the rooster on there, and it said, protect your pecker. I was like, well, I mean, that sounds good to me, man. I kind of want to protect mine too. Yeah. So where did you get that idea from? Like, do you have law enforcement experience or military or anything like that?
I was in the Marine Corps about 20 years ago.
I'm that's awesome,
44. Man. I'm 44 right now. But that wasn't how I came up with it. I was watching UFC 65. Okay, so we're at like 280 right now. UFC 65, I think. Yeah, 2006. So I'm from Missouri, and one of my favorite fighters back in the day was Matt Hughes. He was just a good old country boy. He wasn't tanned up. He wasn't trying to be the prettiest guy in the ring. He was just going to come out and kick your ass, and there's nothing you could do about it. So like he gained my respect, and he lost the fight. He won against George St. Pierre, and then he had a rematch. George St. Pierre in that fight kicked him in the nuts twice. They gave him time to recover. It was inside leg kicks. All of them slid up. And after they gave him time to recover after the second time, George threw another inside leg kick. Matt, thinking it was going to slide up and hit him again, just like the other two, reacted and left this down and ended up getting taken down.
Yeah, that's right.
I had a few drinks. Yeah, I had a few drinks that night, and I was on the way home. I was just pissed. And that's the first. This is like the first physical invention that I created. Like I knew some people that invented. I realized by talking with them, I'm like, oh, that's what I am. That's what type of person I am, because I saw someone that's doing it. I think everybody's probably has a creative bone, but you never meet the person that is doing it that shows you it's possible. Like Roger Bannister in the 4-minute mile type deal. So I had the guy that I saw creating stuff and patenting and prototyping and stuff like that. So I knew it was possible. So I started messing with I bought all the cups out there, and I'm like, I started out with just a mission of wrapping further underneath to protect from an up kick. Like that's how it started. I thought there's a market there. At the time I was training in Muay Thai kickboxing, so I was familiar with, the cups. Just if you get kicked, it raises up with your junk in it.
Oh,
yeah, like it sits in front, but it doesn't really wrap good enough where it won't move when you get kicked.
I just got the stomach pain thinking about that, by the way.
It's rough, especially when you're training with someone that hits really hard. So that's where I bought a bunch of cups, and I just started looking at them and messing with them, and I bought some modeling clay, and it was really like this. It was really just all. I'm an autodidact. I learned it all by just figuring it out. I didn't go to school for engineering. I kind of have that inquisitive tinkerer mind, engineering mind, except I hate algebra and trigonometry. So I could probably never be an official engineer. But yeah, I just kept talking to people, kept reading, internet sites about different materials. I hired a few engineers, like product engineers. I got screwed over by quite a few of them, spent a few grand, fire them, spend a few grand again, fire them because they're just, taking money from me and not doing anything. Finally, it was one winter day, a tree had fallen on the back portion of my car, a limb. So I needed to go get it repaired, and I took it to my wife's cousin's race car shop. He builds race cars, but he also does auto body at the time. And I walk in there, and there's this horrible odor, and like chemical odor.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm laying up a race car body. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, I make molds for funny cars. And then I build carbon fiber funny car bodies because no one's doing that. They're making them out of fiberglass. I make them out of carbon fiber. And then I make the engine compartments and the wheel wells out of ballistic grade Kevlar to protect from rock chips or engine explosions. And I'm like, Kevlar, the light bulb went off. I said, hey, can you show me what this process is? And so those two ideas just, they joined right at that moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
light bulb
a ballistic cup for these athletes. They're freaking bulletproof. You know what I mean? They're MMA guys. Like this is what they need. They need a ballistic level cup.
Sure.
So it actually started more off almost like a gimmick at first. Okay. Like seriously, like, oh, it's going to have Kevlar in there. I could say it's Kevlar. Well, I started messing with the materials, and he started showing me how to mold it. And then I started taking them in the backyard and shooting them. And I'm like, oh, this stuff for real stops bullets. And so I started diving deep into the ballistic world and finding about the National Institute of Justice, which is the testing regulations for police body armor. And there's certain, deformities that objects can have on the armor. And then if it goes past a certain millimeters, then it doesn't pass. I started learning about all this stuff. Started learning about ballistic testing, and just went down that rabbit hole, and finally, got to where I had a product. I had a mold made by a molding company, and they made the injection mold. So the cup is two parts essentially. It's a comfort surround that's made in an injection mold. So an injection mold makes like plastic parts, and so this is a urethane, a high strength urethane surround, and then he made me a compression mold. So a compression mold is a two-part mold, so like a male and a female, and I put the ballistic materials in there, and then I press it under pressure and heat.
Yeah.
And it forms and cures in that mold, and you pop it out and it has that form. So I make the armor myself, like it's handmade here in my shop, and then I cut it and trim it, and then I glue it all in with high strength structural adhesives. And I mean, you get a product with nutshells like police, we call it our level 2 product. It'll stop up to a 9mm. Actually, it'll stop at 357, but you'll be pretty busted up if you got shot with a 357 in a joke. Wearing my cup, it would still be there, but it'd be pretty mangled. The 9mm will stop it without too much deformity, and then our level 1 cup will stop a 45 pistol. Well, let me lock this.
What?
Yeah, it'll stop the level 1 police. Excuse me. I'm sorry. My grandkids just came in, and I hear them upstairs being a terror.
That's okay.
And I'm trying to prepare and lock the door so they don't come busting in.
That's
okay.
The level 1 cup that I market to athletes, will still stop, a 45 auto Colt pistol. So it's like even our lowest level of protection will stop, a 45 bullet. And then was it like probably about 5 years ago, I had the brilliant idea. I'm like, hey, I need to get shot while I wear this.
I was about to ask about the video. Yeah.
So I'm like, who am I to say to these law enforcement officials, like, hey, I got this thing that'll stop a bullet.
Can I shoot you while you wear it?
Well, so there's a company called Texas Armoring Corporation, and they've got a really impressive video where they make ballistic vehicles, like for executives and diplomats and all that.
Yeah.
And so there's some videos on there, if you look them up, where the owner of the company goes into the armored out Mercedes Benz or whatever.
Yep.
And his coworkers unload with an AK-47, and I'm like, man, that's freaking impressive.
I wish
so
I had that job.
I would have done something like that.
Yeah.
And I would argue mine was a little bit more dangerous, though.
Yeah, I would say so.
Probably.
Because what's the title of the video, Jeremiah? Is it CEO gets shot? What is it called?
CEO takes a bullet.
I gotta watch that later.
I love that. When you sent me the link to that, Jeremiah, I died. I watched it. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. It was a crazy day, crazy moment. My wife, she was really not wanting me to do it. But here's the messed up thing. When I got done and everything went off fine, no problems, I'm standing and I barely even felt any impact.
Oh my God! You shot with a 9mm?
No, it was a 22.
Okay, yeah.
So it was a AR 22, or it was a Smith & Wesson 1522. It looks like an AR platform, but it's shooting a 22 long rifle.
Yeah.
So it was the lowest possible cartridge that I could get shot with, but still.
Wow, really? You couldn't up your game? Come on.
So hold on, I'm getting to that. The same person, my wife, said, I don't want you doing this. When we got done with the shooting of the video, she's like, you should do it with a higher caliber now.
Oh.
I'm like, that's the person that didn't even want me to go through with this.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's freaking great. Yeah, and honestly, as crazy as it sounds, and as funny as it is to say it, there's no better marketing than testing the product like that. That's the best, obviously, test of it. Have you marketed to like, obviously you were marketing to athletes and everything. Have you reached out to like military, law enforcement, first responders?
So I get a lot of police, military, SWAT guys that buy it themselves.
Awesome.
So one of the things when I mentioned before diving down that National Institute of Justice wormhole, there is no standard for testing groin protection. Okay, so a department, they will only buy armor that is up to a spec, and there's no spec written for a groin protector. So the spec is written for either like chest plates or soft body armor, and it lays out how many shots, how far each shot is supposed to be dispersed, what's the distance, what's the energy and the velocity of those bullets, the mass of the bullets, all that stuff is laid out, and it has to be able to take this. And then it sets a benchmark, like this is what we expect from our police body armor. So when I have my stuff tested, I have to say like a 2-shot modified test. So we're shooting at with the same ballistics that this level 2 would be against a vest, but we're only doing 2 shots instead of 6. So in order for me to sell to a department, for them to take funds, it would have to be something that was tested to and pass the spec, which they don't have one for it. So the individual police officers, a lot of them have purchased, realizing that they're out there, dealing with it, and hey, I need to be protected here too.
Sure. Yeah.
But the whole department type thing has been an uphill battle, and most departments are kind of broke, where they're just trying to get chest plates,
Yeah,
they're
definitely.
just trying to get the upper body armor, and then the cup isn't their first priority.
Definitely.
Well, at least you got people.
No, and it's understandable.
Yeah, and then word of mouth. That's just gonna, that's really how you spread anything. So.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I got a couple. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, sir.
I've got a buddy who is on the St. Louis City SWAT, and it was really weird because I grew up with this guy. I knew he was on the SWAT team, but then I saw an order come through with his last name, but it was, and I didn't know his wife, but it was a female buying for it, and it was on my old street, and I'm like, that's got to be. So I reached out to him, and he's like, yeah, man, just saw some article or something about a SWAT officer or a door kicker, getting hit with a round, and my wife and I were talking about it, and she ordered. So
it's a good stocking stuffer, I think.
Thankfully, I haven't heard of anybody, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's we can sit here and joke about it and everything, but at the end of the day, like, what's that?
My internet connection was acting up.
Oh, that's okay. No worries. But honestly, at the end of the day, Jeremiah, I love reading a bunch of business podcasts and books and everything. And one of the true indicators that a business or an invention or something is going to do well is that the question that you ask is like, what problem are you solving? What solution are you providing? And I honestly, you are providing solution, because my mom was in the Army for 20 years. So she wasn't a door kicker or anything, but she definitely saw some action over there. She was over in Afghanistan and Iraq. She definitely saw a little bit of action. She was on a convoy that was ambushed, like three or four guys, small arms and everything. But that's something you think about, those men and women that are and like law enforcement, they're getting shot at, like they're in a hot zone, if you will. So that that's by creating that product and creating that solution, you're solving a problem for them. I mean, because like, again, all jokes aside, like, you got a young guy over there serving, or let's say they're in law enforcement or first responder, they take a hit there and they get damaged. They can't have children. They can't have a family. So that's a big deal. That's not, nothing to joke about.
No, for real. It is. Afghanistan and Iraq, I think it was 3,500 that I know of, 3,500 men came back sexually disfigured, like
I believe it.
unable to
Yeah.
have sex,
Yep.
babies, anything. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't care what kind of person you're with, like wife wise, like being the male that I am, and I can't have sex with my wife now, I probably am not going to be happy with my life. I'm going to be
Right.
second guessing myself and my worth. And I would argue, even though, you know, like there's a lot of suicide that happens in the military
Yes. It's
with
very high.
post-traumatic stress, and I would argue
22 a day in
post-traumatic
America.
stress.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, you get your nuts blown off, you get your dick blown off. I would argue that those guys are probably highly susceptible to being in that mindset.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, I
You know?
again, like you know, I have a daughter on the way currently, and yeah, I could totally understand that where you feel like your one of your one of your primary functions biologically is affected, and you're right. I think that feeling of worth would definitely be heavily affected. So then we're obviously you are thinking you're right. You're thinking about mental health, suicide risk, and all that kind of stuff. So
Right. You know, and then on the athlete side, so I'm from St. Louis, and in 2018, Yadier Molina, the all-star catcher,
mhm.
arguably the best catcher in baseball, he took a foul tip and shattered his cup, and then the Cardinals reached out and bought Nutshells. Now,
Oh,
so this next
Really?
year, I was able to get some funds, and I'm building a youth model, you know, because that's really where the
Oh, that's
numbers.
amazing. Yep.
So, but think about that. Like, if okay, so in baseball, um, they can't, like if you have an injury like that where your testicles get exploded. Let's say both of them get exploded by a baseball, and you can't use
Yeah.
TRT. It's against the rules. So
Mhm.
now, what do? Like, you're not going to be able to recover. You're not going to be able to be the same man. You're not producing testosterone. Like,
That's right.
that's a major issue. So what about the kids? You know, the kids that get hit with baseballs like this. I mean, little leagues are hitting. There's exit speeds off the bat when you've got a pitcher that's you know firing 80-mile-an-hour fastballs, and then you got these special bats, foul tips. I mean, it's the same thing can happen, you know, in these little leagues. And now you got a
Yeah.
kid that's damaged and that's not going to grow, you know, into the man he's supposed to because possible,
Right.
you know, testosterone function is cut off because you know he jacked himself up. So I think there's a big market, and I've just been trying to scrape money enough together to get the
Yeah.
molds made for that because that's a $35,000 endeavor to have the
Yeah.
molds made to make the product at a smaller size cup.
Well, I got to tell you, man, that's honestly, you just brought up something I knew, and I played. I didn't play a lot, but I played a couple years of you know little league. I feel like every kid in America probably played at least a year or two of little league. But that you just brought up another example of how marketable this product is, and I just you know I'm a forever optimist. I'm a glass half full guy, 9 times out of 10. I'm very confident that this product is gonna is going to take off and become a thing because the Cardinals, dude, a MLB team bought your product. That's freaking sweet, man. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So it wasn't even so the Cardinals weren't the first one. So I think it was in the year before, so 2017. Caleb Joseph, he was with the Baltimore Orioles.
Mhm.
He got hit with a foul tip. Same incident of injury, and he actually lost a testicle from
Oh,
it.
yeah.
They had to surgically remove it. It was
Oh
not,
man.
you know, it was
Mm.
exploded. So it was kind of through all the newspapers there in Baltimore,
Sure.
and then I guess the Cardinals heard about it, and then it was kind of weird because I still talk to Caleb, you know, via text, and when Yachty got hit, he sent me a text. I remember I was sitting on my front porch drinking a beer with my wife, and he's like, "Hey, the Cardinals are going to be reaching out to you," and I'm like, I
Huh.
had to do a double take with the phone.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
"For what? For what?" And he's like, "For Yachty." And I'm like, "Oh wow." So, yeah, it's like I think it's like 16 MLB team catchers now wear it. Um, One of the cool things is like so. My wife, 2018 was an awesome year for me. Like this year, sales wise, surprisingly, has been better than any year. So,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome. I'm glad
yeah,
to
and
hear
no
that.
sports, no sports have been playing
Mm.
with the pandemic, but it's still the best year on the books so far. So that's a good sign. But
That's great.
the wife and I were talking in 2018. I'm like, this is really cool. You know, all these teams are buying, and that Yachty, they bought a couple of them. They bought for Yachty, and then they bought for Francisco Pena, who's the catcher that was having, you know, the plate while he was gone being repaired, because Yachty was
Yeah.
out for like a month and a half. And so I was like, this is great, but France, you know, like it'd be neat if one of them got hit now while wearing nutshells.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
that's what we need. Well, it was a week and a half to 2 weeks after Yachty was out, and the Cardinals had the cup. So Francisco Pena was wearing the cup, but I didn't know that yet. I was on a drive. I was driving to a news like Channel 2 or Channel 5 local news. They wanted to re-interview me about all the sales that I've had to the team. So I was driving to there,
Awesome.
and she called me and she said, "Hey Jeremiah, I'm going to be a little late." And I'm like, "Well, okay." She's like, "Just head to the office." She's like, "I'm at the baseball game right now." She's like, "I have to ask you a question." I'm like, "What?" She said, "Is Francisco Pena wearing nutshells?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I just talked to the trainer. I haven't talked to them too."
Yeah.
She's like,
Right.
"Okay, just wondering because he got hit with a foul tip today." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, did he get up? Did he get right up?" And she's like, "Yeah, he got right up." I said, "He was probably wearing my cup then."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
That's awesome.
I went, yeah, I went to the news. I went to her office and I waited there, and she pulls up and I see her running into the office with the biggest smile on her face, right? And she came in. As soon as she came in, she was like, Jeremiah, he was wearing your cup, and we've got footage of him in the locker room talking about it."
Get out
So
of here. That's awesome.
yeah, so he was in the locker room, and he's like, "Yes, I wear the new Kevlar cup. Yeah, I felt it, but it wasn't bad." And I'm like, so on the way home,
That's sick, man.
I was just yelling, "Fuck yeah," in my
Oh
car
yeah.
as
Yeah.
loud as I could.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That's
was a
awesome.
cool day, man. It was a really cool day.
That's exactly what you needed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really neat, man. I tell you what, I'm definitely gonna reach out to my a lot of my friends that I grew up with are kind of getting out of the military now. So I'm 30 now, and a lot of them are kind of hit, like, you know, they had 10, 12 years and they're getting out. You know, some of them are still going career, but I'm gonna reach out to all those guys and let them know what's going on, man. Let them know what you're doing, and just
Appreciate it.
try to get you some more sales. So
Appreciate it.
definitely. What were we gonna say, Sean?
Well, I just kind of to wrap up in regards to that, but also the dead right stuff. Like, it's going to be cool to see what else you kind of come up with and how you even maybe make those couple of things even better.
Yeah.
Because
What else do you have brewing, man?
yeah,
I've actually got an idea right now that I can say no bullshit. If I'm able to create it, it would be $1 billion device.
All right, let's go. That's awesome.
With a B. I can't tell you about it yet, though.
yeah.
That's okay. No, I understand.
That's
brother.
fair.
I totally understand. That's awesome. Is it not to pry too much, but would this be like on the fitness side of the house or more safety?
So yeah, this one is actually on the fitness side, and it's something that isn't out there.
Awesome,
it's something
man.
that I want. Yeah, it's something that I want, and in the current climate with the home gyms and certain styles of equipment, this thing would be huge. Like I can give you a little hint. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but you know, you see the mirror thing, you see the Peloton, you see these certain devices, these interactive type things, and this is something along the lines with that, but absolutely different.
Yeah,
this
As it
certain
should be.
style equipment. Yeah, it's really weird because I just let, you know, I'm friends like on Facebook with just people I'm friends with, right? Like I don't just accept, you know, friend requests. It's like, do I know you? Okay. All right. Yeah. You know, and I know my wife is completely different, but my point is I put a post out there the other day. I was like, I've got 3 ideas. Each of them could be valued at $1 billion a piece. All I need is help. You know, I was just venting. I was frustrated. I was like, I'm going to put that out there. I could not believe the overwhelming support of all the people that I know that actually took that statement seriously. You know, I'm like,
That's awesome,
okay,
man.
maybe they're stuck. Like they see what I've done. If I read someone saying that, I wouldn't. I'm like, whatever. But I thought it was neat because I constantly feel inadequate, or like I haven't done anything, and like the quick hits of success go away, and I'm constantly just that's not enough. I need
Yeah.
more to
Yeah.
feel successful. So it was really neat that happened. There was just all this outpouring, these people saying, hey, what do you need, blah blah blah. And I said, unfortunately, I need funding.
That's yeah.
Thank you
Startup
for
capital,
reaching out
baby.
for thank you for reaching out, for giving me a hand, but I need funding. But one person, it's kind of funny. One person, this guy that I became friends with because he is a product engineer and he helped develop the CAD drawing for the packaging for Nutshells. That's how I became friends with him on Facebook. He thought it was a neat
Awesome.
project. He reached out and he said, hey, remember, I'm a product engineer if you need any kind of help. And I'm just like, oh. So I reached out with him. I reached out to him and I said, hey, do you mind signing a non-disclosure, non-compete agreement? And he's like, as long as it's not in this industry that I'm currently working in, I wouldn't have a
Yeah.
problem with that.
Yeah.
And he's like, he said he would. So then it went even further. And he's like, I asked him how much how much he costs. He gave me his hourly amount. But he's like, I would also be okay with working out like a creative payment arrangement where maybe I get a percent of
He's taking equity.
sales.
That's somebody you want. Someone thinking about vision, buy-in. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it helps me leverage the whole situation because right now I really can't afford to start producing something else. And I'm still trying to get the world to know what Dead Right is. So it's like I have all these ideas in the back burner, but it's like I will spread myself so thin where I'm not effective at all if I just try to jump on all of them. So it's like I'm in this dilemma. The ideas keep coming, but I'm stuck in the mud trying to get the other ones out and known.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
but this idea is different in regard because it is so big. If I was able to get it, and this guy, I'm gonna get the NDA together this weekend and send it over to him, and start chats with him.
There we go.
But he's able to design it not only from my sketches and my explanations to actually having it manufactured. Like the guy is from prototype to production, that type of engineering. Has
that's who you need. Yeah.
So,
that's exactly who you need.
I can take his 3D drawings and then give them to my patent attorney, get the proper protection, and then start trying to figure out, get some funding behind it and have the production right there, or a prototype that we can pitch and then hopefully just sell the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's a lofty vision and a lot to happen, right?
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
It's exciting. That kind of shit excites me,
Oh, of course, man. And one thing I'm going to say, Jeremiah, that I really respect you for is, it's like you said earlier, everybody has that quote unquote million or billion or whatever dollar idea. How many people actually do something about it? Very, very small percentage of people. You followed through on your ideas and you have products out in the market.
Yeah. And I think, like I said before, it's because I knew that one guy. And I knew from the beginning, I sensed all the negativity that people, put out there. And on the first idea, I just got, I'm pretty introverted. So it's easy for me to like just shun and just grind. And that's what I did on the first one. I was able to get away from all the negative influences, put on YouTube and type in motivation. Like there's millions and millions of, videos, and that's what I immersed myself in. Listen to a lot of Tony Robbins and stuff like that. That's all I would listen to. Just positive, because the world's just negative. And it just draws from it. So I learned that really quick. If you want to create something, or do something, you gotta, because the world will try to tell you you won't, like you can't do it. If it was so good, it would already be done. That, like I've heard that a million times. And you just gotta, okay, well, I'm not fucking with you anymore. Like you're the person I'm not messing with because you said that. Like, so I, and I stuck with that. So
No, that's awesome, man. And again, I know you kind of made a joke. You were kind of a little, and I love self-deprecating humor. I love it when people are humble and not very boisterous. But you were joking about how you don't have a formal degree in engineering or anything. You're just a guy that kind of has ideas and figures stuff out. I can see on your screen behind you, there's three shelves of books back behind you. So you may not have a formal degree in that field, but you obviously read a bunch, you implement, you practice, and you know how to figure shit out. And that's a great skill set on itself. It's just how to figure out how to do something, you know?
Thank you. You notice the books, like one of my dreams of like, if I ever become rich and able to build the house of my dreams and all that, one of the things that I envy the most, I like fancy cars and stuff, but you see movies where they have a house with just this huge library. Like you walk in and it's that's their library. I want that, but I don't want to just buy books. Like every book in there, I need to have read,
Right.
to be,
there we go.
To be able to have the time to be able to just like Warren Buffett does, read 8 hours a day. Like that, that excites me.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I think that's great. Sean, you got anything else?
Well, I just, obviously a great episode thus far and probably wrapping up soon, but I definitely want to thank you for coming on because, I could probably speak for DeMarco and myself when I say this, throughout 20 plus episodes that we've been doing, like we talked to a lot of cool people and whatnot, like whether it was at a brewery because we're called Beers and Bells, or like just straight fitness, we're like talking to different trainers of like different backgrounds. And this is the first, like, I suppose product specialist I can call it, where like it's fitness related, but then we start to hear about all the other stuff you got cooking. It's going to be cool to see how that transpires and like, this big idea that you've just been talking about. So it's, I think a lot of people will resonate well with the dead weight stuff and then be like, oh, this other product that this guy made, like I tried it out, I loved it. He's making this product now. Like I'm going to go buy that. So it's like, it's just a trickle down snowball effect. I think it's going to be cool to see how that, like I said, transpires down the road. And I just want to thank you for coming on for that.
Yeah, I want to echo the sentiments as well, Jeremiah. I'm excited for you, just hearing you talk about the dead right, the armored nutshells, and then your other ideas that you have. I can tell you're very passionate about this. You're super pumped up, and it's funny, right? You get these ideas, but there's only so much time in a day, and I think you're smart. You're thinking about, you don't want to spread yourself too thin. You don't want to try to do too many things at once. So that's definitely something you're definitely figuring out for yourself. But for me, honestly, I guess for me, it's kind of two things. It's my kind of quote unquote litmus test. I want to be around people that are passionate about what they do and they want to bust their ass and work hard. Like that's really, like, I don't care, I don't care where your political affiliation is, your faith, where you come from in the world or the country. Like if you believe in those two things, we can get along, and we'll definitely do it.
That's what you said there. It resonates a little bit. I have a day job still. I still work at a day job. And so I work at the St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District. I drive a robot camera through the sewer lines and look for defects and then turn them in to be repaired to the proper, production crews or whatever. But I work around, and it's been for 13 years, I work around a lot of people that, they're not really mind expanding conversations. And and as of late, it's really started to bother me.
Yeah.
So I'm possibly going to be moving into a different field until I got a job offer with a buddy's company doing mortgages. It's something completely different than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm scared to death, but I think it's a level of people pursuing success a little bit more on the level that I'm interested in. Because like the people that I work with now, they talk about other people instead of ideas.
Right.
I want to talk about ideas and conquering the day and all that stuff, and it's not there. So that was to the point of what you just said as well.
Well, man, I think that's awesome. That's definitely the language that Sean and I are speaking. That's obviously what we're into. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, man. I want to just close off with, first off, thanking you so much for being on the show. I think your products are really freaking awesome. And Sean and I, we are going to reach out to as many people as we can. Every single client we train that deadlifts ourselves. We've got Sean and I know some really strong deadlifters. So Sean, we'll reach out to Derek. We're gonna get Derek Healy to do some heavy deads. He's a 655 deadlifter, so he's pretty legit. So we're gonna get some heavy pullers to test the product and get some feedback. I'm gonna reach out to all my law enforcement, military, first responder, cats. Let them know what you got going on. Where can everybody find you? So where can people find you on social media? Where can people buy your products?
So dead-right.com is the website, or Dead Right. ArmoredNutshellz.com. It's ARMOREDNUTSHELLZ at .com, excuse me. And then oh shoot, you put me on the spot. For Instagram, is I think oh shoot.
I'm trying to make you money, man. Come on.
Instagram is Dr. Deadright, at Dr. Deadright.
Mm-hmm.
I forget my handle on the Armor Nutshellz.
That's okay. I'll find it later and put it all in the notes below.
Armor Nutshellz. You can type in Nutshellz with an S, Nutshellz with a Z, Armor Nutshellz. Not like you can find that. Deadright is pretty fresh, so you have to be a little bit more accurate looking for it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I'll link all that stuff below so people can obviously find you and obviously reach out and buy your products. Because again, I think what you're doing is really freaking cool, man. Are there any things that you kind of want to anything you want to say to finish off, Jeremiah? Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, yeah, thanks for having me. And if anybody, thinks they're creative, go for it. Few things. If you just got to ask yourself, is it worth the money and the time I'm about to put in? If you're doing it to make some money, is that market there? And we're all pretty biased on our own ideas, so try to get some opinions from other people.
Right.
Yeah. No, man, I think that's awesome. One thing I like to tell my clients, so I'm an old school guy. I like letters and cards. And whenever I thank a client for working with me, one of my common phrases is I'll thank them for investing their time, their money, and their energy into working with me. Because those are all three of those are obviously very valuable resources, particularly your time. Obviously, it's finite. We haven't figured out how to become immortal yet. So that's obviously a huge thing. So Jeremiah, I want to thank you so much for being on here, man. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go work out. We're gonna come visit you in Missouri one day. Sean volunteered to put on the armored Nutshellz, and we'll take a 12 gauge to it, put it to the full test. We'll have some fun. Thank you for volunteering.
Maybe it'll be tailored towards a bazooka by then. I'll try that.
I need you to sign a waiver, Sean.
Yeah. All right.
5 waivers. Yeah. Okay. So, but I definitely, all jokes aside, Jeremiah, I envision some collaborations in the future, and we're going to do everything on our end to try to bring you some more customers and try to help grow this thing, man. So, want to thank you so much, man, and bring it back to the viewers. Thank you all so much for watching. Please hit that sub button, and I want to leave everybody with this empowering mission statement: train your body, feed your mind.